Okay, from this video we are going to start a new module on CSS, and the module will be called CSS Basics. So here we are just going to touch upon some of the fundamental concepts of CSS, and then we'll get into more details. Though this CSS thing is definitely going to be fun because it is going to style our HTML. Okay, so what does CSS mean? CSS means cascading style sheet. So style sheet is fine. What is this cascading? Okay, so for now, just remember that it is called cascading style sheet. What does this cascading mean? This will become more clear later when we'll discuss that how CSS works. For now, it should be fine. So basically, a CSS or a style sheet uh, is basically what? It is basically sort of a language which is used to style the contents of our web page. CSS, apart from the basic styling like different sort of border, color, font size, background color, all those things, it also has support for some dynamic animations, which we might get into at some later part in our CSS thing, but mainly we'll be dealing with, we'll start with some basic CSS concepts. We'll look this animation part later if we get some time. Okay, so what does styling a web page mean? Just now I said, right, that it can mean something like I can change the color of a text, I can make it bold, I can change its size, I can change some background color of some element, I can move, I can show a particular element at some particular location, and that positioning I can do from the CSS. So these things generally mean, and these things generally come inside CSS, and a lot of more things also. So we'll look at most of them as we go in the further videos. So what is CSS styling all about? CSS styling is about targeting particular HTML elements and then trying to style them. Okay, so in the HTML basics we have seen that we have something like this where HTML tags are there, right? And it is a very simple example, but there can be like nested hundreds or thousands of tags even in a HTML document. So the point is that when we are going to style them, then first thing we are going to do is target that which tags or which elements which we are going to target, and then we are going to style that using our CSS thing. How we are going to do that, definitely we'll see later, but for now this is just the thing that this is what we are going to do, and we are going to do that mainly in three ways. So these three ways are the standard ways in which this styling of HTML elements is done, and we'll see all of them one by one. Before that, let me start this HTML. So this is a basic HTML, a folder hello world with just a file index.html, and let me start this. So right now server is not running. So first thing what you have to do, you have to go to that particular folder and do serve dot, or even if you're outside, then you can give the path of that folder, and then it will start in let's say now it is starting at localhost 3000. So yeah, so we can see that it's running. So it's a pretty simple HTML page where just there is a in body there is just one element div, and that div element contains a text hello. We'll start from this basic setup. So let's see what are the different ways of styling these things. So we are trying to, let's say, style something, this div we are trying to style. So let's see. So the first way is that inline CSS. Now inline CSS means that there is a particular element, we are going to write our styles directly here only as an attribute. So there is an attribute called style. So style, you write that attribute, and inside the and you can pass a string as the value of that attribute, style attribute. You can put this style attribute in any HTML tag whatsoever inside the body. Obviously whatever things are going to be in the body, we can style that only, right? Now what is this string? This string, within this string you can write all your CSS rules, whatever you want to write for styling. So for example, I can say something like color red, right? And there is a convention to use semicolon at the end. Now say later that what is its purpose, but the point is that if there is just one rule, then it is optional, that yeah, you can put it also, you can not put it also, that is fine. But definitely if you are, let's say, going to write some more rules, then these rules, next rules cannot be written until unless you write a semicolon, because actually it is a separator for the next rule, right? So which means that if you are writing two rules, then between the first rule and second rule, definitely the semicolon must be there, and after the second rule, the final semicolon you may avoid, that is fine. Okay, for now let's keep it this way. We'll save it and then we'll refresh and see what happens. Okay, so we can clearly see that whatever we have written, the color should be red, it has been applied here. So this thing is called inline styles, and I'll not use a complicated example right now. Means we are going to come to inline styles in a bit later, but just I wanted to clarify here that you can write uh, some more things also. So for example, you can write something like font size is, let's say, 25 pixel, and we'll refresh. So you see the font size is increased to 25 pixel. Now just don't bother about this color thing. Is obviously it is it might be obvious, but font size, what is this pixel, all these things we don't need to bother. But I just gave another rule just for letting you know that if you see, if you remove this last semicolon, then still it would work fine. But if you remove this middle semicolon, it would not work fine. You see, there is a VS Code is also suggesting some error is there, and if you refresh, then all the styles are gone. Understood? So definitely this semicolon is very much necessary, and have a good practice to put semicolon after every property. Whatever this is called this is called property, this is called CSS property, and this is called its value. So after every property value pair, just try to write a semicolon. That should be fine. Okay, so we got our styles back, that is fine. Let's go next. The next thing is called internal CSS. Now this internal CSS thing is actually something like this. So I will remove this whole styles for now, and I'll show you what is internal CSS. See, internal CSS is actually put as a style element. So, and this element is simply called style, and you can put your styles here. But you see the problem, that from here how we will say that we want to style this. There can be 5 more, 10 more elements, right? From here how we are going to say that we are going to target this? For that there is a syntax, and we will go in detail that syntax later, but just right now I wanted to give you flavor of all the 3 ways which we are talking about. Okay, so what we will do is that we will write the name of the, let's say, tag, whatever we are trying to target. There are many ways of targeting, but right now let's say we are targeting by simply tag name div. Then you put a curly braces, set of curly braces, and inside this curly braces, whatever styles you are going to write, that will be applied to this div, because there is only one div, right? So we will see that I can again write color is equal to blue or something, right? And we'll see that if I save, then this hello. Okay, that is fine. And again you can write multiple property value pairs here, that is fine. But you see the problem is that whatever the values it is applying there, it is fine. But you see that, okay, now if I have, let's say, some span element which is like there, and then if I have another div element, let's say, with some hello 2, then you see that the thing is that see, obviously whatever div I am targeting, everything is going to be styled in the same way. But this might not be what I want, right? Sometimes it might be that no, I want to just target this div but not this div, and all those things. So I just gave you a very simple example how to target an element. We will go in detail that how to do those targeting, specific targetings if and when needed. But and there are different syntaxes that how to select those things. Not every time we just simply write tag here, but I just showed you a simple way where you got an idea that yeah, whatever styles I am applying it here, I am applying that thing is getting here. Now I put it in head. Okay, let's try putting it somewhere else. Let's say here, right? And let's change some colors to see. Yeah, red. Let's refresh it. You see, again it is applied. Let's put it below that element. Yeah, so still it is applied. So definitely it's not a good practice to either keep something in head or keep something in body. Don't keep it something like here, because even if it works, because I told you JavaScript browsers will take care of these things, but still it is not a good practice. Either you put it in head or body, that is fine. So definitely with head and body both are working fine, but actually this works in recent versions of JavaScript and recent versions of HTML, which is HTML5 and all. But it's a good practice that until necessary, don't try to keep your styles scattered throughout the body or something. So it's a good practice to keep all your styles at one place, either here or we'll see later in a separate file or something. So that is the next method which we are going to come. So internal CSS means that all our styles are still in the file, in this file only, internal to this file only, but let's say at one place somewhere. And you can have more than one this style tags, you understood, right? You can have like let's say again I have a style tag, and here I am targeting, let's say, span, and its color is, let's say, blue, right? Then if I write something like span here, then if I refresh, then you see this is blue and the earlier one was red. So you can understand that not only you can write multiple style tags, you can write multiple rules inside the same style tag also, right? So these things are, which I am within curly braces, all these things, these are called rules. We will discuss them later, but for now you can see that, okay, let's change it to green. Yeah, and see, these things are working fine, right? So that is fine. Now so everything is possible, right? Multiple rules inside a style tag, multiple style tags, all these things. But the whole idea of having style sheets somewhere in your own internal document, not as inline, but still inside your internal document, that is called inline styles. And the third and the final one is external CSS, which means that, okay, I want this style sheet separate. I don't want inline, don't want to write it here, but I don't want it still inside my HTML document. I want it to have to be in a separate file. Okay, so first of all, why we are doing all these things? Why are we not doing inline styles everywhere? You see, inline styles, let's say you write some styles, let's say color is equal to green, something here, and in another div you write color is equal to green, but then maybe that 50 divs are there and all of them want color is equal to green. Then why you will write 50 times those things, right? So the thing is that what we will do, we will create a separate set CSS rule and keep it either internally here or externally in some file, right? And that same rule will be applied to, let's say, whatever the targeted elements are there. So that is easier to manage, and that's why we are doing all those things. However, you can understand that inline CSS can be also very helpful in scenarios where, let's say, everything is perfectly fine. Let's say hundreds of rules are there and they are in separate CSS file, that is fine. But quickly you want to test something, or just one property you want to apply, so that you can quickly write in a style tag here and get away with it, right? But in general, for the whole styling part, most of the things should be definitely managed in a good way. And again, you can see that again, if I use internal styles, then 10, 20, 50 lines are fine here, right? But let's say hundreds of lines of CSS are there, then why I'm like cluttering my HTML, right? So For that, the external CSS part comes, where what I will do is that I will create a new file and I will link that file to this. I will show you how to do that. But firstly, tell me one thing, that we discussed earlier that yeah, we can create random files anywhere, but we want to have a structure in our project so that it is maintainable. For that, what we are going to do, we are going to create a new folder called styles. Inside that, we are going to create a new file, let's say called style.css, right? And in that we are going to have all the styles which we just mentioned. So for seeing its effect, let's change it to blue. So right now you can see that yeah, nothing will be applied, that is fine. But this red and blue, this thing, so div should be applied with red and span should be applied with blue, and obviously it will not be applied because we have not said to the HTML document that how to use this style.css, and that we are going to do using a special tag which we'll discuss later in detail. But for now I'll tell you that tag is called link tag. Link tag. So the syntax of the link tag is, and that is definitely kept inside head. So inside head you have a link tag, this thing, and you see VS Code autofilled. So but there are many ways, many types of links. Link, in fact rel is equal to style sheet is one of them, but this is the most common one of them, which is used for linking another CSS file to HTML document. But there can be other, see, let's try to see if there are any suggestions. No, there are no suggestions, but there are other ways. For example, it can be a my, let's say, favicon, you understand. So whenever websites are opening, then here you see some icon, right? That is called favicon. So those things are also can be linked from here. You will see that later. But for now, you see that the first attribute is rel is equal to styles, which means that I am trying to link a document. I am trying to link a document, and what is its relationship with the current document? The relationship is that that document is the style sheet for this current HTML document. That is the relationship. Next one is that okay, that is the relationship, but where is that document? Where is the path? And again here you can give the absolute path, the relative path, the full qualified URL. If this file is not hosted by me, let's say hosted by some other server, then you can write your whole http:// whole path also you can write. However, here we know that okay, our path is from the current, I have to go to styles and then style.css, and that should be fine, right? So let's try that. /styles/style.css, right? So if I save this href, if I save this and I refresh, then the styles are applied, you see. So this is, and again you can see that apart from using relative paths, I could have used absolute path. So this is absolute path, so this will also work fine, that is fine. As you understand why, see, absolute paths are again also from root. So style/style/style.css, that is fine. Moreover, index.html is at the root, and that's why it is simply /styles. However, let's say this index.html was in some other folder, let's say called HTML. There is some folder HTML, inside that index.html is there. Then what we are going to do? Then we would have done something like, we have to come one folder outside and then go inside styles. Then we would have done .. and then styles. But right now index.html is at the root, and that's why /styles relative path. So most probably I prefer using relative paths because it gives me more clarity that where the file is there with respect to the current file. And more importantly, if I follow this sort of syntax, then if there is a nested structure and my CSS corresponding to that file is a sibling there, right? Later we'll see in React we'll see that something called CSS modules is there. So those things are generally siblings of the current file. So in those cases also relative paths are more obvious rather than giving the whole path from the beginning. Anyway, this is your preference. I told you all the three ways works. Okay, so this is it. So we can see that all these three ways can be applied. Now next we are going to look in somewhat more detail. Later we'll see more details. Firstly we'll try to understand the basic semantics and structure of CSS, that what is this what is this curly braces and how this rules, is there some syntax or something like that. So those structurally how the CSS style sheet is created, that we'll see next, and next we'll again see these three ways in detail.